Hi everybody, I'm Mike Quick, and welcome inside the Rutgers team room, and thanks for watching the Rutgers Recruiting Day Special presented by Nissan. Over the next hour, we'll meet the entire Rutgers University football staff, including 3 new additions, and we'll hear about the 22 new additions to the football team. But of course, there's one guy you need to start it with, and here he is, the head coach of the Scarlet Knights, going into his 4th season, Coach Ash. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, too.
This is your 4th recruiting class now since you've been here.
We really counted it as 3.
We counted as 3. Yeah. True, okay, because those weren't some of your guys, right?
Yeah, the first one was such a short window by the time we got here. Technically it's 4th, but really we look at it as 3.
Well, because, in football you always want to play from ahead.
We're trying to do that.
Let me ask you this. When you came to the state of New Jersey, what was your perception? Because you recruited Jersey before and you knew Jersey guys, but now living here, what was your perception of the Jersey high school coach? And was it reality when you got here and you were living in their backyard?
I came here with the perception that this is a great high school state, from players to coaches to programs, that we go and build the relationships, recruit the kids that we feel can fit into our program. We have a chance to build an outstanding program. And my feeling today is the same as when I got here, that this is a great state, a great region for high school football, because there are great individual players, there are great coaches. These kids are very well coached, they're well prepared for college, and there's really good programs with history and tradition. And it's a big deal. Football's a big deal here.
The Jersey coach is tough, though. They want their fanny kissed sometimes a little bit, right?
Everybody does.
Good answer.
High school coaches, college coaches, they all do.
You back in December when the early signing period came out. And by the way, when we talked about it last year, you said, give me a year to see if I like it. Do you like it now?
I do, going on year 2 of it. I think it's the right thing to do. I think a lot of people benefit from it. It makes January a little bit different. It's more of a spring recruiting approach. There's less time and money spent on guys that you signed in December versus babysitting all the way to February. I think the flips at the end, there are fewer of them because just the recruiting calendar is a little bit different.
You said right there before Christmas that you wanted depth on the defensive line, the offensive line, the secondary, and at tight end. In the secondary signing period, you addressed all your needs. Are you happy with that?
I am happy with what we've done with this recruiting class. I think we addressed the majority of our concerns and our needs. Not all of them. We're going to have a couple spots left to carry with us until post-spring and see what happens in the potential grad transfer market after spring practice. But I think right now, today, I feel pretty good about the needs that we had and how we addressed them with this class.
22 players. Obviously, you want a heavy amount of those players from the state of New Jersey. You got 10, and what you see with the 10, a lot of them are ranked pretty high in the state of New Jersey, which is big not only for you talent-wise, but this crazy perception in the state of New Jersey where people can be negative about, oh, we didn't get any 5 stars, we didn't get any 4 stars. Do you believe in the star system?
I do and I don't. First and foremost, I'm going to believe in my evaluation, in our staff's evaluation, because that's really the only thing that matters. When you look at the rankings of players, whether it's in our state, other states, nationwide, who makes those rankings? It's not coaches. So we have to trust our evaluation. How does he fit into our program, our culture, our university? That's where it stops, or starts, and where it stops. But when you look at the national rankings, the star rankings, 4 and 5 stars guys, those guys typically go on and have success, and a lot of those guys do go on to the NFL. But it's just like a 3-star kid. There's failures also, guys that don't make it. So, we're not going to recruit off of stars. We're going to recruit off of our evaluation and our fit and what our needs are.
And Coach, 4 guys who left the state are coming back home. How much does that make you feel good? Because let's face it, the reason they're coming back is because you did a good job recruiting them in the first place, and then they felt homesick. Of these 4 guys, you have 4 impact players that are going to help this program.
Yeah, we believe so. I mean, that was part of the plan when we got here. Like, we're going to recruit as hard as we can, as long as we can, and build the relationships that we feel like are necessary to recruit here locally. If a kid chooses to go away from home, we end the relationship, the recruitment process the right way, end it on a positive note, let them go away. If things don't work out, the door is always open to come back based on the situation. And I think you're starting to see that trend with these four players coming back into the program. They're highly recruited players. They were some of the best players in the state and the region. And the fact that they went away, didn't like their experience for whatever reason, decided to come back. Hopefully they're going to all have a chance to be impact players for us in the future. I think it sends a message to other players throughout the state of New Jersey.
Well, let's break one of them down right now, and then your other coaches will come in and break a bunch of other guys down. Let's start with Drew Singleton. Paramus Catholic, when he was healthy his junior year, he was as good as any player in the tri-state. Went to Michigan, didn't like the experience, comes home. What can he do to help your football team this year?
Well, we're hoping he's going to have an opportunity to be an impact player. We're going to play him at will linebacker. He'll help us on special teams. But I think he's just going to provide a lot of leadership too. In his short time here already, I've seen a ton of leadership potential out of Drew. He's a hard worker. He's got a positive attitude. Others gravitate to him. They follow him. I think that's going to be as valuable as anything. And then you put his talent with that, I think we got a chance to have a special player.
Mohamed Toure, South Jersey, long, lanky, runs around, your type of guy.
Absolutely. I've loved him for a long time. We've been recruiting him for about 2 years. Really fell in love with his athletic ability as a running back. We knew he was going to be a linebacker for us. And when you look at the linebacking group overall, the guys that we brought in, we really addressed a big need at that position. I think we're set for a long time at that spot.
We'll have other people break down Langan and Alamo, but what about Anderson from Vineland, New Jersey? You were excited about him when we talked about it during the break.
Absolutely. Naeem went away, came back. He was with us during the fall, the majority of it. We kind of played him an outside linebacker, inside linebacker. I think he's going to have a chance to be an impact player as an outside linebacker. He's a run and hit guy. I mean, he loves the game of football. He practices really hard. He's off to a great start this semester in the weight room. I'm excited to see what he can do. He played in 4 games for us last year. We were still able to redshirt him, but he's big, he's strong, he's physical, loves the game, and I'm hoping to hear people calling his name a lot here in the future. Really,
Coach, it's not 22 new people, it's 25. You have 3 new coaches. You excited about your new coaches?
Well, we'll tell you in a year. Yeah.
All right, then you know what? We'll take it.
I am very excited. It's college football, and in college football, transition and change happens every year. And I look at it as a positive. I embrace it. And it's always an opportunity to get better. And I really like the guys that we brought in. So far, so good. And looking forward to seeing them guys build relationships and develop our players as we move forward.
What do you think about Rosamondo's accent from Staten Island? Talks a little different, huh?
He can eat a lot of pizza, I can tell you that.
I'll tell you what, he's not. All he has to do is jump on the Gothels. He's right back home.
He's back home.
We'll be back with Coach in just a little bit. We'll meet the other coaches from his Rutgers staff, and Coach will then come back at the end of the show and break down his expectations for this coming 2019 football season. You're watching the Rutgers Football Signing Show Special, presented by Nissan. Welcome back to the Rutgers National Signing Day Show Special, presented by Nissan. And now the heart and soul. Coach Ash does all the work during the season, but the guy who does all the work all the time, my buddy Adam Calturi, the Director of Scouting and Recruiting. Yeah. I mean, buddy, first of all, the thing that I see right away, nice beard with no gray, so that's good.
Absolutely, the wife likes it, so we're happy with that.
That's good. And there's no gray because let's be honest, a 1-win season makes your job very difficult. How did you avoid not getting on the roller coaster day in, day out, week in, week out?
No, absolutely. I mean, that plays a factor. There's so many factors every kid has, from winning, campus, facilities, but winning. Kids want to come from their winning program, they want to go to a winning program, so you just got to be persistent. We've been recruiting some of these young men for 3 years, their families for 3 years, just staying the course between getting them on campus, games, unofficial visits, staying in communication, staying through the evaluation process, and just making sure that we check all the boxes. So come December, we can sign a guy now in February, sign him.
Do you ever feel confident, or do you have to see that national letter of intent come through that fax machine where you feel confident? I feel
99% until it comes through. So, usually we have a good idea. There hasn't been any surprises, but we feel really good. And then but I need to see it. I don't want any surprises. So I got the negative, pessimistic side that waiting that last minute for it.
We talk a lot, and I know how hard you work. When a kid who you've worked for 3 years, you and your staff, you've worked him for 2-3 years really hard, and then you get a sense he's about to waver, how do you bring him back?
That's tough. So anytime a kid's wavering, you got to play it two ways. Sometimes it's, all right, we need to go harder. We need to, hey, what's the more angles that we can attack this family, this kid with? Or sometimes it's, hey, let's take a step back. Let's let him breathe a little bit. Let him figure out what he really wants, and then we can figure out our action plan to actually go back and attack how we're going to do this.
When you want to get kids on campus, there's always that mindset, okay, we're playing Ohio State that weekend, so you know the stadium's going to be a buzz, but the way things have gone lately, in all honesty, it's gone the Buckeyes' way. Do you still want to bring the recruit to that game, or do you want to go to a game where you think it's a bit more competitive?
We play both. You know, we really, games that so the 2019 class, you know, we kind of earmark the games that we want them to come to. So, you know, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of, hey, competitive, you know, what we're going to get on the field, we kind of play those. Those young kids, though, they want to come to an atmosphere. So young kids that are freshmen, sophomores in high school, their first college game experience, we want them to be, you know, at a game like that. They're, oh, it's Ohio State, it's Rutgers, it's a sellout crowd, those types of things. So kind of more the older guys, we kind of earmark these 3 games. Young guys were like, hey, any game is just so they can get their first college experience.
Anybody who's been around New Jersey high school football knows how fickle they are, and sometimes they look at the state university like, why? The relationship, and I know because the first time I met you out there at Battaglia Field, I put you through the ringer, and you told me every high school coach in the state of New Jersey, every key recruit he had. What is the relationship now between you, this staff, and the high school football coach in the state of New Jersey, especially in the north?
Yeah, well, it starts with Coach Ash. I mean, he's mandated it from every person in this building to who he's bringing in, that they have to have a relationship with the high school coaches. And then you got a guy like Rick Mance, who he drives it. You know, Coach set the plan, Rick drives it. I mean, he's in constant communication with every single coach. If we're recruiting them, he's in communication with them. He's bringing them down. Hey, if we're recruiting a kid, hey, you want to watch film? He's doing that. So Rick has done a fabulous job just in terms of kind of bridging that, and then our coaches just getting in those schools. So I think it's definitely better over the past 3 years, and then a guy like NUNZIO Campanile being a North Jersey guy, I think that plays a factor, that we're going to get that initial respect because they're like, there's NUNZIO, we've known him for the last 25 years, he's been a high school coach, now he's at the state university, a guy that we've been in the trenches with, you know, is there now, so they feel a little more comfortable, I think.
Here's the $1 million question, and I'll put you on the spot. How many of these 22, I don't want to say they're all incoming freshmen because you've got 3 high-level transfers coming in, all from New Jersey, which, let me ask you this, does it bother you that a kid leaves to go to another college and then jumps back to Rutgers? Like, what do you say to that kid when he calls you and says, I want to come home?
We say absolutely, because we know they're great players. We want those guys back. I think what it does, though, is makes the kids who are thinking about going away, going far away, they're like, well, these 3 kids, they did it, and they only spent 1 year at those schools, and they came back. So why did they leave, and why are they coming back? So I think having 3 guys like that kind of set the stage for the future of, hey, I don't need to go far away. And especially because they were all 3 big-time recruits out of high school. They weren't just, you know, had a couple offers. They had national-level offers, and now we got them back, and I think that's going to help us down the road.
How many of these 22 guys play a significant role as in their first year here at Rutgers?
50%. I'll go with 11. You know, I think this class is really strong. I think it's probably one of the best classes we've had since we've been here. A lot of top-level talent. You know, there's some guys that you're going to need to develop, but there's some guys who already have the body that we need ready to play. And you know, I think we're going to put them, and they're going to be in there competing day one. And I think some of them are going to make their way into game day.
Adam, thanks, bud. Way to
Mike,
go, man.
Appreciate
Way
it,
to
man.
work
Thanks,
it, buddy.
guys.
Way to work it. Not only are there a bunch of new players coming here, there are new coaches to the staff, 3 of them, and you'll meet the first one, the new DC, Andy Boo, when we come back on the Rutgers Signing Day Special. Welcome back to the Rutgers Recruiting Day Special presented by Nissan. We are so glad to bring in the new defensive coordinator for the Scarlet Knights, Andy Boo. Coach, good to have you.
Yeah, good to be here, Mike.
Well, biggest thing is, let's not talk players for a second. You are into the delis in this Rutgers region. What's the place down in Middletown? Talercio? What is it?
Talercio's.
Talercio's?
I can't get enough of them.
Loved it, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm telling you, you're going to gain a lot of weight coaching here.
No doubt.
But you're going to meet some great people. Listen, you've been all over the spectrum. Did you think last year when you were over there at Maryland that next year you'd be sitting here at Rutgers coaching the defense?
I did not, no. And it's a blessing for me to reconnect with Coach Ash and walk the sidelines with him again. It brings back a lot of great memories of our time at Wisconsin, and me and my family are really looking forward to this opportunity.
Very successful with the Terrapins, your defense, the last few years. How can you bring that blueprint up here to Piscataway?
I think it's really easy. You know, we're going to coach with a lot of passion and love the players up, and get them to believe in what we're doing and try to maximize their potential. I don't think it's going to be really hard for us to do that.
Is there a perfect defensive football player? If you took the DNA of the perfect defensive football player, because I want people to know who you are and how you think, what's the perfect defensive football player?
Yeah, the perfect football player is a guy that if you opened him up, his heart would just be bleeding football every day. And it's all about what's in here. It's not about how tall you are or how fast you are or how skilled you are at the position. It all starts with, do you love football? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a personality trait. Tough, hard-nosed, and aggressive, a fundamental football player that plays with fanatical effort for as long as it takes to win. And that's, to be honest with you, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a guy that loves to play the game. And that's a starting point, and then we move to all the measurables from there.
I'm going to ask you a tough question, Coach. Do you think kids today love the game the way they used to?
I do.
Do you?
I do, yeah, I really do. You obviously, just like in the old days, you have to find it. And, it's not always the guy that's the 5-star that we're looking for. We're looking for the right players, the guys that display those types of attributes. Gym rats, guys that want to do football around the clock. Watch it, breathe it, play it. It doesn't matter where, what surface it's on. Those are the types of guys that we're looking for.
Coach Andy Boo, the new defensive coordinator for the Scarlet Knights. Have you ever gone to a game because it was quote-unquote the 4 or the 5-star guy? And you're like, yeah, he's okay, but I love that guy. Nobody knows about him, but I love that guy. Do you like that experience, finding somebody?
Absolutely. What I like to do when I go to a game is I like to look for the guy that I like to look for the best player. It doesn't matter what side of the what side he's playing on. I may be going there to look at a particular player, but I'm also looking for the guy that flashes. Who's making the most plays out on the field? Who is the best player on the field at this time? And those are the guys that really catch my eye, and that's where we've been able to find some diamonds in the rough over the course of my career. And that system has never failed, because it goes from that experience to now reaching out to area coaches to see what the makeup is on that guy. We're always trying to look for the best player on the field or in the league or in the state.
A dad gets your email. It says, Coach Boo, my son can play. Never heard of the kid, never heard of the school. Are you following up on that?
We get so many of those.
You do, right?
Yeah, Mike, we probably over a course of the year, we probably get thousands of those. So to honestly say that we look at every single one of those would be really hard to commit to.
Is there a guy in all of your years coaching where you just feel good, like, wow, I gave that kid a chance when nobody else did, and he made me look good? Do you have one of those guys?
Yeah, several guys. Delano Howell played for us at Stanford. He was, he wasn't the highly recruited guy, but back at that time, we had areas that we recruited for a long time. And he was in the San Joaquin Valley of California, and I had known that recruiting area for a long time. So I had seen Delano since he was a freshman, growing all the way up to his senior year. So I knew a lot about him. The recruiting services may not have given him that high of a ranking, but we knew that he was going to be a player for us. And he ended up starting for 4 years and ended up playing the National Football League.
Because you gave him a chance.
No doubt.
Okay, so you haven't been here long. The season starts, well, the real season starts August 30th for the fans. Your season has already started. Spring game the 13th. Looking ahead right now, if you assess your defense, what you've seen, do you like your defensive line?
We do.
Do you like your linebackers?
We do.
Do you like your secondary?
We do. We like all three phases.
Which one's the best?
But that would be hard to tell you right now. You know, because I've just seen them run around in shorts and T-shirts. You know, I would have to hold that evaluation until I saw them some more in in spring practice.
What are these young men going to get out of Coach Boo this year?
They're going to get a lot of passion. You know, they're going to get direct coaching. They're going to get a guy that that loves the game. You know, and I think you're going to get a guy that values his staff and understands that it's not my defense, it's our defense. It's our interception, it's our tackle, it's also our missed tackle, it's also our win, or it's also our loss. So it's that mindset, like, we're going to do this together. I'm going to give them everything that I have, and so is our staff, and hopefully they'll buy in and follow it, and we'll have a lot of success on defense.
You sold me, Coach.
All right, Mike.
It's great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome aboard.
You bet.
Coach Andy Boo, the new DC for the Scarlet Knights. We'll be back with more of the Rutgers Recruiting Show special, presented by Nissan, right after this. Welcome back to the Rutgers Recruiting Day special, presented by Nissan, now joined by the defensive line coach, Corey Brown. And Coach, I'll tell you this, you come in here your second year, these new cats better be weary, because I did some research on you.
Yeah.
When you played at Iowa in '99, you got the Defensive Hustle of the Year award.
That is true.
So these dudes better run around for the coach, right?
Very true. I think that's something that when you have great effort, it just helps to erase mistakes, and you can't negate it. So.
You brought 3 guys in. In your region, you're South Jersey, you're Philly, and you're Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it's a very different, you're all over the place. And South Jersey and Philly are the same.
Yeah.
But Atlanta, I don't hear a lot about Atlanta high school football. How is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good football. I think there are a lot of hands that's in the pot down that way. So you have to be thorough as far as what you do and try to get guys. We had a couple guys come up for visits, didn't end up signing with us, but that's some place that, after we cover the local area here, is one of the places that you like to get some guys up from.
Well, you went into Michigan, and you got an all-state player out of the state of Michigan, Devin Baldwin, 6'4", 260. What do you like about the big guy?
Love his athleticism. He's a guy that's a smart kid also, so he understands the game, good football IQ. I think he has great growth potential also. He's been like a dual sport kid in the past, basketball, done a little bit of track. So as he continues just to focus on one, he's going to grow and get bigger and bring a lot to the table.
Malachi Burby out of the state of Connecticut, 10th overall recruit in the state of Connecticut, comes early.
Yeah.
How big of a factor is that, Coach?
Real big for him because he's an interior guy. I think sometimes you look at, like, even in the NFL, that's a position that takes some time just to get acclimated to. But him being on campus, being able to be in the weight program right now with Coach Parker and his staff, along with just being in these meeting rooms and things like that, and then he'll get 15 practices under his belt, which would be second to none. So excited about him because he is very, very tough. He's a guy that can bring some versatility to what he does as far as both inside positions, and he's definitely going to take it and run with that opportunity.
Coach, you talk about versatility. I got to put my glasses on for this one because this thing, when Haas put these things out, I was like, hold on. Ryan Buell, defensive lineman, Hornell, New York, 6'2", 270.
Yep.
The cat was a running back in high school?
Yes, sir.
270-pound running back.
Yes.
So is he the best athlete of these 3 freshmen?
Well, that's I think he would argue that,
Yeah.
but I think that's going to be determined.
Can the big fella dunk a basketball?
You know what he can.
Can he really?
He can do some good things. And just so his name pronounced correctly, it's Rayanne.
Rayanne. I got the last name
That's
right.
true.
I blew
That's
the
true.
first name.
But he's definitely a guy that does a lot of jobs for his team. To play running back, to play linebacker, to play defensive line, interior and on the outside, checks a lot of boxes. And then his upside is so huge, and he's a kid that's just very, very smart also. So he's going to come here with the chip on his shoulder, because being up in Hornell, Not a lot of people knew about him,
No.
but you had to really want to go there to see him. And I think that kid has a huge upside also.
How long did it take you to get there?
4.5 hours.
4.5, not bad.
It's a trip.
Well, sometimes it can take that long from Piscataway to Brooklyn. Unfair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you see any of these three guys making an immediate impact as a freshman?
I think they always have the opportunity, and that's something that Coach Ash presents. He wants competitive guys from day one, so those guys will get a chance to come in and compete. And when you throw your hat in the ring and you do the work, if you're able to stick and stay, then they're going to get an opportunity. So,
Coach Brown, good job, man.
Great to talk to you as
the
well.
The Hustle Award
Thank
winner,
you.
man. I'll tell you what, you guys, you better not let this cat down. He'll run you down. We're back with more of the Rutgers Recruiting Day Special right after this, and of course, as always, presented by Nissan. Okay, we continue to roll on with the Rutgers Recruiting Day Special presented by Nissan. Now the second-year coach, Noah Joseph, the co-defensive coordinator, and the guy that takes care of all the safeties. So you have a good crop of secondary guys coming in. Before we break all the individual guys down, Coach, you happy with the four collectively?
Most definitely. With Coach Ash and what we try and do defensively is get the best players that we can, whether they're corners or safeties, and kind of let them play out and figure out what spot they'll get into. And, usually start a lot of those guys out at corner. If they're not great at the cover skill part, then we can move them back at safety.
You know what's great about this position, and positions in general? A ranking is a ranking, but you never know unless they show what they have in here. I remember when Jason and Devin McCormick showed up here, nobody, 11th hour, Coach Shiano brought him in, and look what they've done. That's probably one of the neat things, because we all think we know, but we really don't. You could have one or two pros here. You just don't know.
No doubt. And obviously they have to have physical characteristics that you think can be an NFL player. But we want guys, no matter whether it's secondary or all over the field, that are smart, dependable, and tough guys. And I think we did that.
You go down to Sicklerville, Winslow Township, the number 20 rated recruit in the state of New Jersey. And with all these crazy Rutgers football fans, they always want to know, where's he rated, where's he rated? Donovan Bunch. What do you like about him?
But he's cat-like quick. He's got great lateral quickness and change of direction. He's a basketball player, comes from great bloodlines. His father played in another Big Ten institution, and he's very athletic.
So you go from the 20th recruit to the 18th best recruit in the state of New Jersey, Donald Williams from Camden High School down south, 6'1", 180.
Donald is very versatile. He's going to probably start off at corner. Hopefully he'll move back into my room at safety. But again, he's a guy that when you talk about just being a football player, you turn on the film, and whether it's in pass coverage, making tackles at the line of scrimmage, blitzing off the edge, he kind of does it all.
TJ Robinson, kind of got him. He looked like maybe he was going to go to Minnesota, and you got him away from the Gophers. Florida kid, which has always been big for Rutgers. How'd you find him in Florida?
Well, we went down there in the spring and saw him in the spring, and he's at Riverview High School, and Coach Ash actually coached a young man at Iowa State from his high school that ended up being an NFL player. And with TJ, he was doing a lot of stuff on offense. Saw him do some DB drills, and he could really put his foot in the ground and change direction, and just kind of monitored him and stayed in contact with him. And we were lucky enough to get him here at the end. And
this morning, or late last night, Darius Gooden from Newark Westside High School, 6'2", 190, 41st prospect in the state of New Jersey, track and field guy, which puts a smile on your face.
No doubt. Not only can he run, but he's a bus guy. He's a guy you want getting off the bus first. So he looks like an NFL guy already, fills out his pads, and we're really excited about him and the possibilities that he can do.
Was he overlooked by a lot of schools?
He was, and partly he was an offensive player coming up through the ranks, changed high schools after his sophomore years. Followed a coach over to Westside, and so kind of came onto the scene late.
We just had Coach Boo in here, so you guys will be working very closely together. First time I ever met him. Seems like the type of guy you want to be around.
No doubt, and I think when you look at the staff that Coach Ash has put together, we've just now starting to talk ball. But throughout the recruiting process here in the end of January, we had to take some trips together, kind of 4 or 5 of us and stuff like that. And you're not really talking a whole bunch of ball, you're just talking personal, stuff, getting to know each other, and we've had a lot of fun. It should be a great year for us.
You might be the only guy I've ever spoken to who says, I enjoy driving into New York City. That's your recruiting region, and you love it.
I love it. I know Coach Erb had to go see a wide receiver last week, and he called me up saying some choice words to me. I don't know
What
how
was he
you
on the
do
Belt
it.
Parkway?
He got in an accident, all that kind of stuff. And you know what it's taught me to do? Taught me to put my phone down and just concentrate on driving. And I'll be honest, the coaches there, the people there, it's electric.
I've always thought, because let's face it, New Jersey, they try to send as many kids all over the country as possible. I've always felt that New York City could be the absolute hotbed for Rutgers University because they want to feel. I see everybody kisses New Jersey coaches' fannies, but New York City, they want the love, and I think Rutgers has always done a good job. Not going to go nuts that you didn't get any because there weren't a lot of great seniors in New York City this year. So the whole Rutgers fan base, take it easy. It's okay, but there's some good ones down the pipeline.
No doubt. We'll be there. We'll be strong there and hopefully make a huge presence there.
Well, Coach Joseph, it was great talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Keep doing your thing. Have
Thank
fun
you.
with those lunatics in New York City.
No doubt.
All
no
those
doubt.
coaches. Boy, I tell you what, a guy that likes to drive to New York City is a guy you want to play for because he gets it and he puts that phone down. Back with more, still a bunch of coaches to talk to as we continue to roll along on the Rutgers Signing Day Special presented by Nissan. Well, this is a familiar face. He's been with Coach Ash all 4 years, Vince OKRUCH. And Coach, new responsibility. You've always run the special teams, but now you got the outside linebackers.
We've been joking around the office a little bit, returning to the dark side, as we like to call it affectionately. You know, I spent a lot of time on the defensive side of the ball, and, you know, I'm at a point in my career now where those kind of things are very agreeable to me. You know, whatever we got to do to win, and you know, I tell myself, like I tell players, sometimes you call a player and say, listen, we'd like you to play this instead of that. I still believe, you know, coaching is about building relationships. It's teaching. My subject matter changed, that's all. I'm excited to be back on the defensive side. And like I said, I spent, you know, close to 30 years on that side of the ball, so glad to be back.
You got a defensive voice. When you come in here, man, you're a presence when you walked into that room, that big gravelly voice.
No, that's a defense mechanism. I'm a big softy at heart. I don't want anybody to know that. So
not if you're coaching outside linebackers.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Hey, you know, there's a guy that's coming home, which I'm going to be honest, I thought made a huge mistake last year when he left St. Joe's Montvale to head out to UCLA. I think Matt Alamo synonymous with an East Coast tight end. Big, strong, can catch, can get physical. He leaves UCLA to come to Rutgers. How big of a get is that for you guys?
Well, I think it's huge. You know, I think it's 17, 18 years old. Sometimes being far away seems like an attractive thing. I relate it to this. You know, a lot of times you move out of the dorm, you get in an apartment, you get a light bill, a cable bill, a heat bill, a water bill, and you go, man, this ain't what it's cracked up to be.
That's right.
He got that far away, and I think 3,000 miles was too much. You know, to go on a 48-hour visit, easy. Do it every week for family and friends, and then not be around family and friends, I think that was difficult for him. And we are elated he's back here. You know, he's a very, very, very good football player now.
No.
It's not because he couldn't play there.
Yeah.
It was just the distance and being uncomfortable that far away from home.
Yeah, see, you're not going to say it, but I'm going to say it because I covered him for 3 years in high school. He made a huge mistake going to the West Coast. He's got East Coast DNA. So when you get that call from the Alamo camp, are you excited? Like, what's your first reaction?
First reaction is, wow. It happened right away. And the second was, man, this is great for Rutgers.
Coach, he's the type of kid, I think, who will attract other tight ends like him to come here.
No doubt. No doubt. And if you meet the family and you go to the high school and you spend time around him, I like to think of him as a quiet leader. You know, he doesn't say a lot.
Not much
he
at
does
all.
a great job academically. He's great football mind now. He understands the game, and then he's a big, strong guy that can catch the ball.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know if anybody's asked you yet. Is he going to try to play baseball here as well?
I think that's still up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Coach Ash would allow him to do that if he
would.
wants to. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the initial recruitment, the baseball part of it was something we agreed to. So I think he's got to kind of feel his way through this first semester and through spring practice and see where he fits on that depth chart. And if it's possible to do both, you know, we'll address that when it happens, if it happens.
Well, let's see if it's possible to do both of these. Get the first and last name. So we're going to try it, Coach. Zakudu Ijano. Say it, Coach.
Zakudu Ignuengo.
Much better than
I'm
me.
not going to tell you. I'm not going to write down his mom's name for you because that one would be really hard to pronounce.
Really?
Yeah.
Top-rated recruit in the state of Massachusetts. How'd you get him? 6'3", 215, athlete.
How do we get him? Early. You know, we started early, showed him that this is a program looking for good young talent. There'll be an opportunity for him to play right away. I don't know the last time he was 6'4". I saw him a week ago. I'm going to say he's closer to 6'5" now.
Really?
Yeah, he's a big athlete. You know, originally he wanted to play safety, and as we watched him move around, we said, you know, you'd be the biggest safety in all of football.
Yeah.
So right now he's in that slot as an athlete. I really see him being an outside linebacker,
Okay.
A nickel safety, a guy that's down near the box, can cover tight ends, can cover number twos vertical. Great family. Both parents college graduates. Dad played, I believe it was soccer at North Carolina State.
Okay.
Younger sister's going to Holy Cross on a track scholarship. Just great people. And I really think the secret to his recruitment was we started early. We showed him, you know, what our mission is, and the way to fulfill that mission is get good people, and they are a great family.
Now, when you say start early, what's early?
Well, for instance, right now, traditionally this was your only signing date.
Yes.
Well, there's been a month since your last signing date.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that 30 days? Well, yeah, you continue to chase some current players, but you have to start your focus on next year. For instance, the 2020 class, in my geographic area and the position I coach, we've got them all rated. We've got them all ranked. We know who we want to recruit, why we want to recruit them, you know, what their families do, what their interests are. And right now, you know, we're getting them on campus, having them come down for junior days, having them come to spring practices. So the process has accelerated. We were in early on Z, and we made an offer early. And I think right now that's the way it's going. Don't necessarily agree with it,
Okay.
but I don't make the rules. That's the way it's going. You better be early or you're going to be left behind.
And that's what we're going with, Z, right?
Yes.
Makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, and everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
Coach OKRUCH, boy, I'll tell you what, fun to listen to. Love the way he gets after it. We're going to roll along with more coaches on the Rutgers Recruiting Day Special presented by Nissan right after this. Welcome back to the Rutgers Football Day Signing Special presented by Nissan. And for all you high school football players out there, if you have a dream of making it to the NFL one day, you really got to take a look at our next guest, the offensive coordinator for the Scarlet Knights, John McNulty. Coach, what is it, 6 or 7 NFL stops in your career?
Yeah, 6 stops, 15 years. You know, some of them obviously longer than others, but we got to work with a lot of great coaches when they were assistants as head coaches, from Tom Coughlin and Bill Parcells. To guys that Sean Payton was an assistant at the time, now obviously a head coach, and be around a lot of really good systems of football and a lot of ways of doing things and teaching things, a lot of great assistant coaches that nobody hears about sometimes, but have a lot to offer technique-wise. So, you know, that's kind of what we hang our hat on here a little bit in terms of when we talk to recruits. If you want to get prepared, it's the same jargon as we use at the Chargers in terms of what the system is, and probably about a dozen teams that run that system, and the teaching's the same, and certainly helps someone to get to the combine in the future.
Coach, when you're recruiting receivers, do any of them ever say, hey, what was Larry Fitzgerald like when you coached him with the Cardinals?
Sure, and if they don't, I bring it up because Larry is as great at everything, is the way I kind of say it. He's great at life, he's great at being a person, a friend, a father, a football player, and he earned it. He was always the last person off the field. You know, there's certain examples I can give guys of this catch routine that he did all during the week that, you know, the younger guys would come in and think, well, I can't do that because it's Larry. You know, it's like, well, he's way ahead of you. You better. So there's a lot of things like that, routines that I've seen from Kurt Warner to all these great players, and even up to, you know, Philip Rivers and Keenan Allen, these past, and Antonio Gates. And guys, how do they become great? It's always through some sort of hard work, and maybe you give them a little bit of their process and help them along.
Do you ever cut up clips for some of your receivers?
Oh, yeah.
Say, look at this guy?
Yeah, we've got, you know, we do a lot of work. It's great now in the system. All the NFL tape is on the system. We're able to watch it week to week, and I've got obviously cut-ups from over the years of all the different concepts and techniques and one-on-ones and what have you. But we do it during the year as well. You know, other teams like the Colts, you know, a guy I worked with at the Chargers is now the coordinator at the Colts. I work with Frank Reich. A lot of their third down stuff we did, so we could cut it up during the week and say, hey, here's what, you know, this is what we had in. They're running it. You know, this is how we run it. So, yeah, we do a lot of references to the NFL.
Did you ever think you were going to be back at Rutgers?
I
mean, you were here with some unbelievable years.
Yeah,
Coach.
well, that was pretty good.
Ooh,
Yeah,
man,
we
that
could
was
get
fun.
some of those guys back. In some ways, yeah. You know, my wife is from South Jersey. I'm from Northeast Pennsylvania. We're kind of used to this. We've kind of lived all over the country now. And it's, we felt, you know, invested in, you know, this program because we were here when it was last hard times and it was raised up. And now with the Big Ten behind us, we feel like even though it's been kind of hard times, we're on the verge of getting it back there. It feels like when I got here in 2004 and we had that kind of 4-7 season where we were close, and then we just kind of, once it gets over the top, it kind of feeds itself. And so, in some strange way, yeah, I did feel like I'd be back here again.
Do the kids who are here now, do they ever talk about like that 06 season? Do they bring up the Thursday night game against Louisville?
Yeah, a lot of them tell me how old they were, and I'm like, holy cow. But yeah, and you know, we showed some clips of that along the way. I think I showed a clip before the last game, and Gio Rosigno, who was a senior here, and some of the older guys and some of the younger guys talked about that it just hit them, like the full stadium, the emotion, the support, the state. Everybody was on fire at that time. The Empire State Building. And so I think sometimes guys have to see that you know, the support's there, but you got to win. You know, you have to. All this hard work that everybody's been doing has got to translate into some success on the field, and when it does, certainly the support is everywhere.
Well, everybody who wants to talk to Coach McNulty always wants to know about the quarterbacks.
Sure.
We could forget about the quarterbacks for a second right now, because you could have any great quarterback if you don't have a line to protect them. And I mean, you know, and
right.
So let's break down. You're bringing in 3 offensive linemen. How much will they, and it's a very difficult position to break in as a true freshman and get on the field. You have a junior college guy. Do you expect immediate returns?
Well, you know, Amari Cooper is a guy that really has 3 years to play to, but just looking at his, you know, his maturity as a person, his football smarts, his work ethic and discipline, and his body. Yeah. Obviously, he spent 2 good years at a junior college, really, and didn't waste it in terms of his physical work and building his body up. And I don't know if he's all the way there yet. I think he's still got some room to grow.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think our program will be a little more comprehensive, and I think he's excited about that. But he's got all the skills to help. You know, we lost our left tackle. We've lost our right guard. So there's 2 spots right away that are open, and certainly it's always open to competition.
Yeah.
But you know, this conference and really any form of football starts up front. We just saw it Sunday night in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it starts up front, and if you can't block people, you're going to have a long day. And so that's why I think Omari's a guy, probably of the 3, has the best chance to start right away, because he's been out of high school for 2 years already.
C.J. Hansen, St. John Vianney, right around the corner. You guys collectively had to hold your breath. You had him. You lost him. You got him back. How'd you bring him back?
Well, I think we had built a pretty strong relationship with he and his family, and I think they saw the benefit of being, you know, this close to home, the education, the Big Ten, you know, all the things that we talk about, you know. And hey, listen, it's a long process. You're getting a lot of people talking to you, and you know, a lot of times you say, well, maybe I jumped in too early. There's all this other stuff. You know, I don't think it was a bad thing that he took a deep breath and said, wait, you know, let me just check these other things. And once he did, he said, yeah, this is the best thing. And I like the people and the relationship that we have and have built. And so I don't think that was a bad thing. But he's a tough, dependable, strong, stout player. You know, a lot of times that's the hardest position to come in right away and play. But certainly he's got the physical attributes to compete at the position right away. And it's really, he's one of those guys. I go back to like when I first got here, and Eric LeGrand was like, he was in the weight room. He was always here. He was a junior.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, well, I thought this guy was on the team. And he would do recruiting weekends and talk to people. CJ and his family a little bit like that. They've been here a million times, and they're very comfortable here.
Great.
They're very into what they have to do to get better to play. Like, he wants to change his body a little bit. He wants to gain the right weight. He wants to, so it's the nutrition. How do I lift? How can I perfect this certain technique? And he's working at it.
I'll tell you one guy who can't just show up here and throw some, you know, weight on the bar and just start lifting. Who in the world's getting frequent flyer miles to Sweden?
Not me. I wish it was.
Who's getting that third guy? Anton Oskarsson, 6'5", 270 from Rig Academy, Uppsala in Sweden. That's the 3rd Rutgers player from Sweden. Where does this come from?
It's interesting that this pipeline has kind of developed, and we're kind of in the forefront of it. You know, now you see there's a lot of other teams that are pushing their way over there, and at least we've kind of established ourselves with the coaches there, and kind of gotten the reputation of, hey, we'll take care of these guys. We'll make them better. They're going to get a great education and play, and so they trust us. So when they brought a number of these guys over to camp, I mean, this guy popped right away in terms of getting a stance, the certain qualities of an offensive lineman, the bend, the pop, the footwork, the ability to get out of a stance and move to different levels. And you know, we're not in pads, but you can see the attributes. Then you see if they translate, on tape.
Yeah.
And the one thing that's really progressed over there, the coaching is outstanding, of particularly the up front, the offensive and defensive lines. And so some of the things, they've come over here and studied football.
Yeah.
They've asked, we've been a part of that too in terms of educating them, what do we work on? And they've taken those techniques and really taught them well. And so when you watch this guy on tape, he's further along than a lot of guys that we watch in high schools in terms of what he's able to do physically from a technique standpoint, which is outstanding, and it'll help him, get a good start when he gets here.
You lose Gio.
Right.
Now we switch to the quarterbacks. You lose Gio. You bring in a walk-on. You
Right,
bring in a
Cooper
recruit,
Heisey, yeah.
and then you bring in a transfer.
Right.
Let's start with Johnny Langan, who everybody in the state of New Jersey knows because he played for NUNZIO,
Sure.
won a state title at MetLife a couple years ago, goes to Boston College, comes back. I will say this, having watched him play for 2 years in high school, you are getting a guy that will compete as hard as anybody inside this facility.
Well, he's a former New Jersey, player of the year, and he's young. It's not like you get a guy back who only got 1 year. He's a young player, and he, the competitive spirit, obviously Nunzio knows him, and he spoke about, what he was like day to day. That's the one thing that's a lot of times it's hard to get true facts. So what is this guy? He's a football junkie. He's a highly, highly competitive person. He's a guy who wants to do everything right and sponge every bit of information to make himself better. He's going to compete in the weight room. He's going to compete in the classroom. He's going to compete on the field. And so, and he's got, certain attributes to his game that, maybe we didn't have last year in terms of being a guy who can run, who can, get the ball out quickly on some RPO stuff, who can, operate throwing on the run. So it brings a little bit different skill set, and we talked about, after the year, creating more competition in that quarterback room. You have to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean Art's out, this guy's in. It just means you need a number of options, legitimate options, to compete every day to make each other better. The good thing with all three of these guys, just like I say about Johnny, rather than just repeat it, they're all football lifers. Like, this is their life. They love football. They can tell you everything about the Super Bowl, everything about their high school championship game, the college football playoff, this game, that game. They love football. They love players. And so as hard as that job is, really anything in college football is hard. But if it's not that important to you, it's a hard deal. And all these guys kind of have that attribute, which is good.
Coach, you get caught up in school size in high school, like Cole Snyder, small school upstate. They won a championship upstate, Class C school. Does that bother you? Or if you can throw at any school size?
Well, I think the arm strength and accuracy, that'll travel. So he's the one guy, I met him up there at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's south of Buffalo, and in April, and it was cold. I mean, I've been living in the South for a while, but it was cold.
Getting soft?
Yeah, it was cold for me. Now I'm standing there. These guys jumped out of their car at 6 in the morning. Sun's barely up. He starts gunning balls, and he's got 8 guys running routes for him that'll do anything for him. You can tell they're just at his command. And I thought, I'd been at a bunch of workouts and seen guys throw. I hadn't seen anybody throw like that. And so we brought him here to a camp where he was around a lot of the best players in the whole area. We had 900 kids here that night, and he was one of the best throwers there.
Yeah.
And so I think some people do get caught up, and he's off the beaten track.
Yeah.
He's a guy that really just showed up here at a spring practice is where we started to follow him, because he's a tremendous student. He was an all-state hockey and baseball player on top of football. And then I go to his games, and he's returning punts and kickoffs. He's blitzing as a safety, like right through the A gap and sacking the quarterback. He's intercepting balls down the field. He's running the ball in. He's throwing it in. He can throw well on the move. He can see things that, kind of has a knack of finding things, outside the framework. And so all that stuff kind of, and getting to know the character of the person, much like Johnny. So Johnny comes from, this crowded area where everybody recruits and everybody sees him, and this guy, but they have a lot of the same attributes. And so those things translate into success usually, at any level.
Getting a quarterback in early, too, is a big deal.
Yeah, we were able to do that with Art last year, and you just see what the benefit is. We do a lot. We're starting, now we can meet on, we can talk football a little bit, and not so much meet on, but just be able to be around guys and talk football and get them kind of up to speed of what the system is, so they have a chance to go through 15 spring practices, ton of reps, and so then when they're in the summer and we're not here, they can grasp those concepts. They've done them. They can watch themselves on tape doing them, it's a tremendous advantage for everybody, for us as evaluators and for them as players.
Quarterback's best friend's a good running game, and you've got good running backs coming back
we're
and good
fired
running
up
backs
about
coming
that.
in, so that's got to make you happy. That's got to take the burden off your quarterbacks.
Well, you know, there's a possibility that those are our best 4 players. I mean, I've said all year Raheem was our best player, and then Isaiah, you know, is a heck of a player too.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean to, now I don't even know if you can go out and make those statements now. I don't want to upset, because Isaiah's skill set, you could say he's the, you know, you could jockey that. And then now these other 2 guys we have coming in, Aaron Young and K-Ron Adams, we feel like are right in the mix. So technically our top guys may be our first 4 running backs.
Spring game should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. We're ready to get to work in August. 150th anniversary, it'll be a big night here on a Friday night. It's already got a little bit of, you know, it's already got some buzz in the building for that. So we're thinking about that every day.
Coach, it's always great to
Thanks,
see you,
Mike.
buddy.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely
Thank you.
appreciate you too.
Thanks, man.
All right, the offensive coordinator, John McNulty, giving you some good. The quarterback job, it ain't closed. It ain't. It's open, and anybody could win it. And that's what football's all about, competing. Back with more on the Rutgers Signing Day special right after this. All right, this is a little different for me. I'm not going to lie. I have known this guy, NUNZIO Campanile, the new tight ends coach. Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.
Way to go. I've known him forever from his days at Don Bosco, his days as the head coach at Bergen Catholic. And one of the things that we love to do is we used to love to argue. I'd say something, you would disagree with me 100%. I'm going to say this. I like some of the kids you brought in. Will you agree with me on that?
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Yeah,
Here we go.
No doubt.
Before we get into your players, everybody knows you as a Jersey guy, Bosco, Bergen. How is the change as you go into your second year of being a college football coach?
Well, you know, I think last year a lot of it was just kind of getting comfortable with what we're doing and, you know, understanding what exactly my role is and, you know, now I just think I feel a lot more comfortable. You know, I've always known John. I've known him for a long time, back from when he coached Mike. But you know, different now after working with him for a year. You know, hopefully I can be more helpful to him, and you know, from the recruiting standpoint, just kind of having a little better understanding of you know the way the whole system works on this side of it. And you know, hopefully I can be more helpful to everybody. Hopefully I can be more helpful to Coach Ash. And
you know, Nuns, a year ago this time you weren't even on the staff.
Nope.
And now, a couple of months after this signing date last year, you're out on the road recruiting at places like St. Peter's, Don Bosco. You're back recruiting with your brother Vito, recruiting his kids at Bergen Catholic, at DePaul with your other brother Nicky. What has it been like for you? Because let's face it, everybody was always competing so hard with you. Now you need stuff from them. What's that been like?
It's actually been really good. You know, I mean, most of these guys I've had relationships with going back a long time. And, you know, I think that means a lot because I've always felt that, you know, sitting on the other side of it, the relationships and, you know, can you trust people is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, even when you're out competing with guys, I mean, they know that we're more alike than we are different from the standpoint of we all want the same things for our kids. We want to put them in places where, you know, they have a great chance to be successful, you know, not just in football, but in all the other aspects. And, you know, I know that most of those guys can trust that I'm going to be a guy that when I say something, I'm going to do it. And, you know, I can be trusted from that standpoint.
Did you ever think, and we're going to get to your kids in a sec, but I got to go back to your old kid. Did you ever think you'd be coaching a team that Johnny Langan was on ever again?
No, I didn't. But, you know, I'm excited to have him here. You know, obviously we're very close. We have a great relationship. But, you know, he's just a great competitor. He's a great leader. And, you know, he will help our team just by the way he works, the way he conducts himself. You know, he's you know, you can't have enough guys like that.
Yeah. And I never thought when Matt Alamo, and I promise we'll get to your guys, but when you coached against him, when Matt played at St. Joe's, I never understood why he went west. He's got an East Coast type persona. Sure. To have him now under your tutelage, because if people don't know, he has a chance to be, he is good. He has a chance to be great.
Yeah, no, he is a legitimate talent. He's a great kid. He's very smart. He's a hard worker. He seems to be really comfortable here so far. And you know, I think that, you know, one of the big things is you want guys from championship programs that have championship work ethic. And, you know, both of those guys totally fit in that category. And, you know, honestly, I think we brought in a lot of players this year that are cut from that cloth. And I think that will pay huge dividends for us down the road. You know, guys from programs that know how to work, they know how to compete. They know what it takes, you know, that it's a 365-day commitment.
Our buddy Fooch, who does Rutgers Radio, the sidelines, He would tell me during the season last year, this kid Avery Young is too good to be true, the true freshman who just jumped off the page for you guys last year. Now you get his brother Aaron from down out of Pennsylvania, Coatesville, and you had to work to get him because Michigan State, they came a-calling, and at the end, you won out. How'd you do it?
He had a lot of offers, and he should. I mean, it won just a great player, great athlete, great football family. Obviously Avery's here, and he has another brother playing at Old Dominion, and the dad played a little bit in the NFL, and really they understand what football's all about. And I think that Aaron, in the end, just felt really comfortable with the people here. Not just the coaches, but the players. I mean, probably even more so with the players. I think he really understood when we went out and played Michigan State. He was at the game. I'm sure that maybe made it come to life a little bit. Like, hey, I might have to play against my big brother, and they're best friends. They're the same type of relationship that I have with my brother, so I could see how difficult that would be.
Oh, so they all fight amongst each other?
No, we never do that. I mean, except next year when we smoke Michigan, we're not going to.
Attaboy.
Yeah, let's get it
Take that, Anthony.
Yeah. But I think that it really, in the end, relationships probably win out because if you're going to have success, you got to be in a position where you're around people that you can trust and people you feel really good about. And I think that they have that type of relationship, and I think Aaron had that feeling when he was on campus with the other guys. Those guys are his brothers already. He walks in the door saying, hey, I've got 100 friends.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let me ask you about K-Ron Adams from out of Warren, Ohio. Is it safe to say that you guys knew about him sooner than anybody and then everybody found out late because you had to hold on to keep him?
Yeah, we were really sure about him early. Vince OKRUCH found him when I first got on the job. He was like, hey, you got to watch this guy. And he was kind of a smaller guy as a junior and kind of gained probably 18, 20 pounds.
5'10", 190?
He's probably closer to 200 now, but he was probably about 170, finishing his junior year. He was putting out great track times, and then I went, Coach OKRUCH had already had a relationship with him and his coach, and then I went out to see him. Then Coach Ash had the opportunity to see him at camp in the summer. And he was like, well, we got to really go on this guy. And from that point on, it was full speed ahead. And, he's as good a player as we have coming.
Well, you have another guy coming from your old neck of the woods, the Big North, Chris Conti out of DePaul. Kind of played in the shadow his junior year behind Vinny DePalma, who had a sensational year at that other school up in Massachusetts. But Chris at times last year looked really good. I thought maybe some of the games struggled a little bit, but when you get him in here, I'm thinking you're going to make him a really good player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart, tough, dependable guy. His dad is a coach. I thought playing against him, I thought, man, this guy is a really talented kid. And as you said, I mean, playing with Vinny was such a focal point of that team. But, when we played him when he was a junior, you could see them use him as an offensive player, as a defensive player. He's very versatile. He's got great skills. He will be an impact player on special teams probably from the day he gets here. And, being a coach's kid and, being in a great program, I think he's going to know how to work. He'll be a type of guy that will be able to come in and compete right away.
I know you can't talk about players that you're recruiting right now, but just give me an idea. Is the junior class in the state of New Jersey, how good is it?
There's a lot of really good players, I think. At least, in my area and what I've looked at and, bouncing around this winter, I think there's a lot of guys with a lot of talent. I think we'll have a great chance to get a bunch of them.
I'm not going to lie to you. I liked it better when we used to argue more. This went too well. Good to see you, Nuns.
Good to see you, Mike.
Awesome. Nunzio Campanile in his second year gets the promotion to tight ends coach of the Scarlet Knights. Back with more of the Rutgers Recruiting Day special presented by Nissan right after this. Welcome back to the Rutgers Recruiting Day special, of course, presented by Nissan, joined by Lester Erb, wide receivers coach. Coach, you're in your third year, and you were a happy guy this morning because you had a good group of receivers coming in already. But when Stanley King sent that text, that fax in, things got really good for your position at Rutgers.
Yeah, obviously Stanley was one of the premier wide receivers in the state. Is a guy we've really been recruiting probably since he's been a freshman down there at Woodrow. And we're extremely excited to have him in. He's going to be a guy that I think is going to come in and have a chance to play right away. Obviously a taller wide receiver, tremendous ball skills, and really more importantly, he is just a tremendous individual.
Is he 6'6" now? I mean, some people think he's taller than 6'5". now.
Well, when you're 5'9" and you look up there, you can't quite judge whether it's 6'6" or 6'5", but he's tall enough.
When I look at Montario Hunt, who you get out of Mississippi, you think versatile because he can do so many things. 6'2", 185 pounds, junior college guy. So you would think he projects to have some type of impact pretty quickly.
Yeah, you know, we still got to add some experience to that room. And Montario's a guy that had, you know, signed with Marshall coming out of high school. You know, and left Marshall and went to a junior college, but he's a guy that, you know, had a productive career in the junior college ranks. And again, he's just another great individual that we expect to come in and compete for a position. He's an older guy. He's a really mature guy. Football is important to him. And, you know, he's just another great, you know, addition to the room.
You went for true wide receivers because in Hunt, 6'2", 185, King, 6'6", 190, and Isaiah Washington, who you got out of Trinity Christian Academy in Florida, 6'3", 195. So you got some guys who it's going to be pretty hard to overthrow.
Yeah, you know, we felt we needed to add some height into the room. So that's really kind of what we looked at. And obviously they're all very, very good players. Isaiah is a guy that, you know, we were excited about. We've been recruiting him for over a year. And we identified him early in the process. And again, he's another accomplished guy, getting him out of the state of Florida. And, you know, he picked us over some other pretty big offers. So that's another guy we're excited about.
Even though Art had a ton of throws last year, he's still only going to be a sophomore this year as far as quarterbacks. You're bringing in a transfer from Langen. You're bringing in a true freshman. How much will your receivers group make it easier for their quarterbacks this year?
Well, the biggest thing is, you know, a year ago going into the season as a full position group, we were still pretty young and inexperienced. And, you know, now we've had really, for some guys, 2 years of experience. For a lot of guys in the room, it's still 1 year. So, you know, I'm expecting a little bit more out of those guys because they have experience. They've played in the league now. And we've got to take a big jump this spring. And, you know, our experience should help those younger guys coming in.
Well, Coach, we wish you the best.
Thanks, Mike.
You got
I
some
appreciate
really
it.
good ones. Coach Erb, he got 3 receivers, and boy, are they really happy about the King, for sure. Back with more as we continue to talk with the assistant coaches from Rutgers University, and at the end, we will once again be joined by Coach Ash to put a wrap on this Rutgers recruiting show presented by Nissan. Well, we told you Rutgers has 22 new players, 3 new coaches. You met Coach Boo already. Now I'm going to introduce you to the new running back coach, Colby Smith. Coach, good to have you aboard.
Mike, good to see you.
I bet you this is the last place you ever wanted to come to after Thursday night 2006 in that Louisville-Rutgers game, right?
That was an unbelievable night, but I'm excited to be here.
Did you, when you came here that night, you know, Rutgers was just kind of getting there.
Right.
Did you ever think, when you were the number 3 team in the country that night, that they had a chance to beat you?
I did not.
You did not.
But they came out and played well. You know, the defensive line movement is what killed us that night. It was hard for us to make runs in the run game, and it was hard for us to block, and they had a good game plan.
Well, you would know better than anybody because you had a great year, a great
Right.
career at Louisville coming out of the backfield. As an opposing player,
Right.
watching the pandemonium that night in Piscataway, did you kind of look back and be like, what is this and who are these guys?
I was. You know, being from the South,
Yeah.
you know, a little unfamiliar with the East Coast football.
The way we talk.
During that time, right? But the only thing that really sticks out to me is I was on a knee on the sideline right before he was about to kick the field goal, and all I could hear was, we will rock you. I mean, it was jamming. And then I seen the birthplace of football.
You saw
so
it.
I didn't know the football started here. So
And you know this is the 150th anniversary
I
this
do
year.
know that. I do know that. So that's what I will always remember about this place.
Was it the worst loss of your career? Most gut-wrenching? I promise this interview is going to get better.
It was. You know, that was our opportunity to play for a national championship, and slipped through our fingers.
And Coach, isn't it strange now how 13 years later you will use that moment as a tool to get kids to come play running back for you.
No question.
How
no
will you
question.
use that? Like, what will you, as the guy who lived on the opposite side of it, how will you spin that to your advantage?
Well, just talk about the heritage and the tradition here, and the potential that we can have here as a football program, and just how great the fan base is here, and the opportunity, the educational opportunity that you have here, and life beyond the game.
Better running back, Colby Smith or Ray Rice?
Ray Rice.
Really?
Yeah.
He comes around a lot still.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. No.
I'm excited to meet him.
He was a terrific player, both high school, obviously here, and the pros. He's a great young man. He really is. The DNA of the perfect running back is what? If you could go into the laboratory and Coach Smith could create the perfect running back, give me a little bit of something from everybody to create what you would envision.
Smart, tough, discipline.
That simple.
That's the ideal running back.
Are you going to be, what type of coach are you? Going to be demanding? You're going to be a player's coach, a little bit of both? Who are you?
I'll be the coach that I need to be for that particular player. I think you got to coach everybody differently because everybody learns differently. Everybody responds differently. So if I got to be, good cop, bad cop, that's the guy I'll be.
Will you be, because you were a running back at a high level, will you be super tough on these guys?
No question.
Yeah.
I'm definitely be tough because they got to be tough to play the game.
If a kid shows up 30 seconds late, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle it?
We're going to have an opportunity to get better that day.
That day. If he shows up a second time late, then what?
Well, he may not play the next game.
My man. I love it. Coach, welcome here, man.
Thanks, Mike.
It's great. It's great. It's hopefully we have a couple special nights like we did in 06, and you're on the good guys' side.
No question. I'm on the better end of the side.
How was the Michigan basketball game the other night? Everybody saw you bouncing around with Coach
It was
Boo
fun.
and Coach
It was
Ash.
fun. There was a lot of excitement in the building. I thought the team played well. We just got to finish.
You can envision bringing some football recruits to that atmosphere and get them excited about Rutgers?
Oh, yeah.
Can you play basketball?
I can't.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Can you still run?
I can run.
When's the last time you timed yourself for the 40? Come on.
2007.
What'd you hit it at? Really? Your last year?
At the combine.
At the combine?
Right.
What'd you top out at?
4.50.
4.50.
Mm-hmm.
My man.
Mm-hmm.
I might be quick, but you're fast. All right, Coach. Great to see you.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. One more to go. He's going to speak a little funny because he's from Staten Island, the new offensive line coach, when we come back on the Rutgers Signing Day Special presented by Nissan. Welcome back to the Rutgers Recruiting Day Special presented by Nissan. He goes from Red Raider to Charger to Owl and now Scarlet Knight. He's the new offensive line coach of your Rutgers University football team. Pete Rosamondo, the pride of Port Richmond High School. Welcome home, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
Good to see
Appreciate
you.
it.
Graduated Port Richmond in 1990.
Yeah.
Right back then, Rutgers was, kind of like, what's Rutgers? What's Rutgers? So you probably, when you were growing up on Staten Island, it was a dream to coach. But was it a dream to coach at Rutgers? Did you know much about Rutgers back then?
Of course, I camped here.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Why'd you pick BU then?
Well, they didn't recruit me, but I came here. No, I came here for camp. I was probably a little too small for that Big East level, and picked BU because of education. Great opportunity to go play for a couple good guys up there, Dan Allen and Lake Tony Sperano, great guys.
You and he had an unbelievable relationship, right?
We did, yeah, all the way up until obviously he passed away last summer.
Yeah. When you look at your career, two-time head coach, University of New Haven, Central Connecticut. 2 years ago, you took Central Connecticut to the postseason. You won the NEC. That had never happened in school history. So a guy who's been so successful as a head coach, how will it be now to step back and you're not in charge of everything, you're just in charge of one position? How will you handle that?
Oh, great. It's going to be I told Chris, I said, it's going to be great when something happens and your phone rings and not mine. But no, I mean, I'm the head coach of my room, my group of guys, and I get an opportunity to coach those guys. And the O-line's a unique group. It's 5 guys, and it's really the only group on the field that has 5 guys that you got to coach and get working together. So it's gonna be a really great atmosphere and environment for me. I love working for Chris. He's a great guy, and we got a good staff. He's put together a great group of guys. So I'm excited to get going and really work with these guys.
Pete, one of the things I think that's great about the hire is that you're a local guy. And you know the coaches on Long Island, you know the coaches in New York City, you know the coaches in New Jersey, you know them in Connecticut, you know them in Pennsylvania. Because let's face it, you recruited Division II at New Haven, and every school has Division II players, even when they have Division I. So you have relationships there. Then you recruit in 1AA Central Connecticut. You have already knocked down a lot of obstacles for Coach Ash because you have relationships in this area, and you know this area is not always easy dealing with the high school coach.
Well, they got great high school coaches in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, really good coaches, good guys, but they love their kids. You know, they want you to do right by them, and I think as long as you do right by them, they'll continue to welcome you into their school each and every year, and that's always what we've done. We've always tried to do right by the kids and make sure we're upfront and honest with them, and I think that'll carry over to here. And you know, we'll develop great relationships. I know coaches got a lot of them already, but you know, we'll bring some of the New Yorkers over here too, who've kind of maybe stayed away for the last few years.
The guys that talk funny. So it's down to Boston College, Pitt, Syracuse, and Rutgers, and it's a 4-star offensive line recruit. How are you getting them in those other 3 aren't? What are you going to sell?
What am I going to sell?
Yeah.
An opportunity to play for me.
Yeah.
You know, in a great place in the tri-state area. You know, you got Rutgers. This is a great opportunity to be in the obviously the biggest media market in the country right here, and play in front of this great crowd, this great stadium. The facilities are getting better every day. You know, Chris and Pat are doing a great job of building this thing up to being an excellent Big Ten school. And Big Ten is a line of scrimmage league. You know, ACC isn't, and some of those other teams that you mentioned are not. So this is where you want to be if you want to get to that next level and play in the NFL.
You're going to face some tough defenses.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Be a great opportunity.
You like practices or game day better?
What coach doesn't love game day? But yeah, I love practices because I think that's when it all starts. You know, when you got a group of guys that are going to work in practice on the O-line, you're going to have a great game day. So I focus hard on practice.
Who are you as a coach? We want everybody to get to know you. Like, who are you?
Who am I? I'm a guy that loves my players.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to coach them really, really hard. They're going to play hard. You're going to see guys scratching and clawing out there and really doing all they can to be successful. And in the end, they're going to know I care about them as a human being and want them to do great things once they're out of college, whether it be at the pro level or on Wall Street or, you know, maybe in a doctor's office if they want to be a physician or something like that.
You go out to recruit a big-time offensive lineman, and then you're watching the game and you see a center. He's 6'1", 265. He's not projected by anybody. Do you have an inner belief that if you think that kid can play, that you'd bring him here?
That's our center right now.
Oh, listen, nobody has to. Michael Maietti, I used to run around telling everybody how Michael Maietti's a great player.
Yeah, and he's a great guy.
Great guy.
Great guy. And yeah, we're going to take a chance on those guys. But, I mean, there's a requisite set of skills that you got to have to play at this level. You know, it's not always 6'6" and 300 pounds, but there are some skills that they have to have. And Mike has those skills and those intangibles. You know, we're not going to have 15 of those guys, but you know, if you have 1 or 2 of them, they're going to make your O-line special. Mike does already. Yeah, it'll be great.
Oh, I love it. Welcome home.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. It's great to be back.
Yeah, the pride of Port Richmond High School, boy. He could play two-way lineman. What's the award you won?
The Barbary?
The Barbary. Academics, right?
Both, yeah.
Student athlete. Unbelievable. Back to wrap up this edition of the Rutgers Recruiting Show, presented by Nissan. Coach Ash, when we come back. Well, it seems like the season is right upon us. The spring game, April 13th at highpoint.com Stadium. And Coach, we've talked about all the recruits. They're the bloodline to college football. It's the bloodline to football in general. Players, players, players. So how are you excited? You've watched them all on film. You've seen them all in person, but they haven't worn the Scarlet uniform yet. How excited are you to see them when practice starts in March?
Well, it starts with the current roster that we have. We have a young football team. We have a lot of players coming back from this last season. I know the conversation is around the record. It is what it is. You know, I want us to have a better record, obviously, but it starts with winning in the locker room and developing the players on your team. And with the guys coming back, if we can build on the type of football that we were playing at the end of the season, we're going to have a fun football team to watch. And I feel like right now our team is hungry and they're eager to be coached. They want to get better. They're working extremely hard. They want to get back on the practice field and continue to improve. They want to be one of the most improved teams in the country next year. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of hungry players. And then when we bring in the new recruits with them, I'm excited to get this youthful group out there and get going.
What's your philosophy? We've seen a lot in college football now where the spring game, it kind of sometimes becomes like a two-hand touch type of football game. Will you get after it hard on April 13th at the stadium?
It just depends on how spring ball goes. You know, if we can get through spring practice relatively healthy and we've got depth and there's no concern about losing a guy, yeah, we'll get after it. Maybe not the full game, the full 4 quarters, but at least a couple of them, because that live tackling in front of a crowd in the stadium is important. That evaluation is important. But if we have some injuries along the way, then we got to evaluate what we're going to do in that spring game.
August 30th, that's where you kick it off for real against the Minutemen of UMass. How much tape does your staff watch on UMass right now?
You know, once we get through all of our postseason cut-ups and evaluate our goods and bads from last season and talk about what we have to do moving forward, we'll always take a peek at our first 3 or 4 opponents to see what we may need to work on differently in spring practice to get ready. You know, are we going to play an option team? Is there some other different scheme that we're going to have to see that we have to adjust what we do and get some extra looks at it in spring? So we'll get some eyes on that, those first 3 or 4 opponents and see if we got to do anything different in spring. And we'll do that in a couple weeks. But right now our focus is just reviewing last season, talking about the tweaks and adjustments we need to make going into spring, and then we'll get our eyes on our opponents.
Is there ever a time to relax when you're a college football coach?
No, not in this day and age. The players on campus all year round, and recruiting is year round, so it just never stops.
Well, Coach, we wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We get it going in what, 6 months now? We kick off the Scarlet Knight college football season 2019, August 30th at highpoint.com Stadium against the Minutemen of UMass. You have been watching the Rutgers Signing Day Special presented by Nissan. For all the Rutgers coaches, including the head coach, Chris Ash, I'm Mike Quick. We'll see you on the 13th for the spring game. Take it easy, everybody.